Welcome back to the AI Pokemon World Championships. This is episode 2, part 3. If you missed parts 1 and 2, there are links in the video description. The grand final between Gemini and ChatGPT is coming up, so let's send it down to our commentator, World Series of AI Poker's own Claude Negreanu.
We are live for the finals. It's Gemini 3, Flash versus ChatGPT 5-4 in a championship rematch. First to 2 wins takes the championship. One title on the line. Chaz, the crowd is electric and grass and poison. Let's get this started. Folks, we are live for the championship final. Gemini 3, Flash versus ChatGPT 5-4. 2 players, 1 crown. First to 2 wins takes it all. Chaz, I've watched both these guys. Gemini is ice cold under pressure. ChatGPT is a surgical closer. This is going to be like watching 2 final table pros stare each other down. Let's go!
Lead Hitmontop plus Curem for immediate speed control and disruption. Intimidate helps versus his Salamence, Metagross, Arcanine, and Crocodile, while Fake Out often enables a safe turn 1 Glaciate. Scarf Kyurem pressures Salamence with Ice Beam and slows both foes for the slower backline. Bring Clefairy for Follow Me and healing support, mainly for Kyurem or Blaziken. Leave Magnezone and Araquanid. Magnezone is poor into Rotom Wash and Crocodile, and Araquanid dislikes electric pressure and Intimidate.
Arcanine and Metagross lead for Intimidate support and Steel coverage against Curem and Clefairy. Rotom Wash provides pivoting and Water-type coverage. Scarf Salamence acts as a late-game cleaner once Steel and Ice threats are removed.
Chaz, we are live at the championship finals, and I love this opening setup. Gemini goes Arcanine and Metagross against ChatGPT's classic Hitmontop Curem opener. I've seen those notes. Hitmontop opens with Fake Out, and Curem is the Glaciate closer. Gemini knows exactly what's coming. Question is, does he have the read?
Turn 1. Fake Out into Metagross denies its move and lets Choice Scarf. Kyurem pressure it hard. Focus. Blast is our strongest hit on Metagross. Risky accuracy, but best chance to seize momentum.
Hitmontop is a major support threat with Intimidate and Fake Out. I will attempt to burn it with Arcanine to neutralize its attack stat. Metagross will target Curem with Meteor Mash, as it is a huge offensive threat, and Metagross's clear body ability ignores the attack drop from Intimidate.
Metagross, take a seat.
Fake Out on Metagross. Fake Out always goes first and forces a flinch, but Steel types resist it, so the damage is tiny. Smart flinch lock, though.
Steel melts under pressure.
Focus Blast missed Metagross. That is a brutal miss. Focus Blast only hits 70% of the time, and ChatGPT just burned his shot. Metagross flinched from Fake Out and couldn't move. Meteor Mash never fired. Curem dodged a bullet there.
A little fire to keep that Hitmontop in check.
Will-O-Wisp burns Hitmontop. Burn halves. Attack stat permanently each turn, and Hitmontop is a physical attacker. That is crippling. Oh, ChatGPT misses the big one, and Hitmontop is already burned. Turn 1. Gemini smelled weakness and went straight for the burn. That is elite instinct. Hitmontop is basically a busted hand now. Chaz, he's putting Hitmontop in the blender before the flop even drops.
Burn Hitmontop is low value now. Pivot to Clefairy to support Kyurem next turn. Keep pressure on Metagross, the biggest threat. If Arcanine snarls or attacks, Clefairy still gives better positioning than leaving top in.
Focusing Curem to eliminate the primary offensive threat. Metagross ignores Intimidate thanks to Clear Body, making its Meteor Mash particularly potent here. Arcanine provides additional chip damage despite the attack drop. Hitmontop is less of a concern while burned and at while 1 attack.
Ops taking 5. Friend service coming up.
ChatGPT pulls Clefairy in. A pivot swap mid-fight, essentially folding Hitmontop out of danger and bringing in a fresh piece to absorb pressure.
Metagross, round 2. This one lands.
Focus Blast connects this time. That is a fighting type nuke, and it chunks Metagross hard, but Kyurem is still exposed on the field.
Clear body keeps me strong. Your Intimidate won't save that dragon.
Meteor Mash is Steel type, and Ice is weak to Steel. Kyurem gets one-shotted. Life Orb Recoil costs Metagross some HP as the price of doing business.
Kyurem is the main threat here. Let's see how it handles the heat.
Arcanine throws Flare Blitz at Clefairy, and Clefairy's cute charm triggers Attract. Now Arcanine is infatuated. That is a status landmine.
Blaziken is the better switch. It threatens Metagross with an immediate fire or fighting type KO, while Clefairy can support next turn. Time to turn up the heat.
Blaziken forced in as the replacement for Kyurem. ChatGPT needs a closer, and Blaziken is the last real threat left standing.
Kyurem is gone! Chaz, the primary weapon is off the table. Gemini soul-read that Meteor Mash and cashed it in. But Arcanine is now infatuated by Clefairy. He's pot-committed on Arcanine now, and that Attract could cost him everything. Blaziken's in. This final table just got wild.
Best line is remove Metagross now. Follow Me can pull Meteor Mash or Flare Blitz, preserving Blaziken and Focus Sash. Arcanine may extreme speed or burn, but Metagross is the immediate KO target and biggest threat.
Metagross is in danger from Blaziken. Switching to Salamence provides Intimidate and key resistances. Arcanine is currently affected by Attract, so swapping it for Rotom Wash clears the condition and builds a strong defensive core to handle the opponent's current team. Salamence, take the stage and show them your power.
Gemini double switches both of his active Pokemon out in one turn. He's folding his current hand and coming back with a completely new line.
Eyes on me. Blaziken needs one clean step.
Follow me on Clefairy. ChatGPT is using Clefairy as a shield, forcing all attacks to target her instead of Blaziken.
Metagross, you're done. Straight through the steel.
High jump kick into Salamence. Not very effective against the Dragon type, but Speed Boost just triggered. Blaziken is getting faster every single turn. Gemini just folded his whole hand and redrew. That double switch is the most disciplined pot control move I've seen all day. But ChatGPT smelled it coming. Follow me shields. Blaziken while Speed Boost stacks. Chaz, Blaziken is getting scarier every turn it breathes. Gemini bought time, but that clock is ticking.
Best line is Safe Speed Boost. Follow Me covers Hydro Pump, Draco Meteor, or status into Blaziken, while Protect blocks direct pressure. At +2 speed, next turn Blaziken can threaten Salamence or incoming Metagross Arcanine, preserve Focus Sash and avoid HJK into possible Protect.
Salamence with choice. Scarf outspeeds +1, speed Blaziken. Earthquake is the primary play to bypass Clefairy's Follow Me and hit Blaziken simultaneously. Rotom is immune to Earthquake due to its Levitate ability and provides additional pressure with Hydro Pump, which chips Clefairy.
Not this turn. Try again.
Blaziken pops Protect on itself. Protect is a shield move that blocks all incoming damage for one turn. Clean insurance play.
Over here, boys. Blaziken needs one more breath.
Follow Me forces all opponent attacks to target Clefairy instead of Blaziken. Classic bodyguard setup.
Feel the ground shake. Earthquake incoming, and Rotom is just watching from above.
Earthquake hits Clefairy. Rotom Wash is immune to Earthquake entirely. 0 damage to Rotom.
Clefairy can't draw away everything. Here's a Hydro Pump for the field.
Hydro Pump goes straight to Clefairy since Follow Me keeps redirecting, and Clefairy is gone. Blaziken gets a free speed boost on the knockout.
Hitmontop is the only legal switch and still the best one. Intimidate weakens Salamence and possible physical partners, helping protect Blaziken. Burn lowers Hitmontop's damage, but Fake Out or Wide Guard could still provide useful tempo. Back and you go, Top. One more spin before this closes.
Hitmontop comes in and immediately drops both Rotom and Salamence's attack stats via Intimidate. Clefairy is gone. And Chaz, this is the wildest poker spot I've seen all day. ChatGPT is down to 2 Pokemon. 2. But Blaziken is now 2. Speed boosts deep and Hitmontop just intimidated the whole board. He's pot committed now, whatever the Pokemon version of that is, and he is not folding.
Fake Out into Rotom stops Hydro Pump, and likely lets Blaziken remove Salamence at 59%. Burned Hitmontop is weak anyway, so utility is best. Flare Blitz is safer than High Jump Kick into a possible Protect or Switch.
Blaziken is the priority at +2 speed. By staying in with both, I ensure that even if Hitmontop uses Fake Out on one, the other can land a hit. Hydro Pump bypasses a potential Wide Guard, and Rotom's Levitate makes it safe from Salamence's Earthquake. Removing Blaziken wins me the game.
Rotom, sit still. Blaziken is taking the knockout.
Fake Out. That's a priority flinch move. Forces Rotom to freeze up for the whole turn.
Salamence, wings clipped.
Flare Blitz into Salamence, but Dragon types resist fire, so it hits soft. Still drops Salamence to 19%.
I am not letting an Intimidate stop this Earthquake. Feel the power of the ground.
Earthquake hits Blaziken super effective and catches Hitmontop as collateral. Rotom flinched from Fake Out, couldn't fire Hydro Pump. Leftovers tick for both sides, and Blaziken earns another speed boost. That's 3 now. Gemini's got Salamence on fumes at 19%. One sneeze and it's gone. ChatGPT executed that Fake Out perfectly to silence Rotom.
Need Salamence gone before it can Earthquake again. Blaziken is fastest at +3. Mach Punch plus Flare Blitz covers through possible speed ties and avoids risking High Jump Kick miss into Rotom. If Salamence switches, redirected damage still pressures the incoming slot.
Blaziken's speed boost makes it a major threat. It outspeeds and likely KOs my weakened Salamence. Switching Salamence to Arcanine triggers Intimidate, weakening both physical attackers, while Rotom Wash attempts to secure the KO on Blaziken with Hydro Pump. Time for a defensive pivot. Arcanine, bring the heat and the Intimidate.
Gemini switches in Arcanine. Intimidate fires immediately, dropping attack on both opposing Pokemon at once.
Salamence, you're not leaving this turn.
Hitmontop fires Mach Punch, a priority move. Arcanine tanks it at 88%. Intimidate already blunted the damage.
One spark, wings down.
Blaziken throws a Flare Blitz into Arcanine, but fire versus fire type resistance means it's not very effective. Recoil drops Blaziken to just 19% HP. That was a desperate, costly bet.
Wash away the competition. That Blaziken is history.
Hydro Pump from Rotom connects on Blaziken. Super effective and a critical hit. That is a brutal river card. Blaziken is gone. 3 speed boosts meant nothing. Oh wow! Gemini pivots to Arcanine. Intimidate neuters the table, and then Rotom hits a critical Hydro Pump to end Blaziken. Now it is 4 Pokemon versus 1 Hitmontop. Chaz, this hand is basically over.
Last mon, so maximize immediate knockout chance. Close combat into Arcanine is best chance to remove 1 foe before going down.
Hitmontop is currently at 80% health and weakened by a burn and a reduction in its attack stat. Since slot B is empty, I am focusing my efforts on slot A to ensure damage is dealt. Arcanine will use Morning Sun to recover its health from 140 out of 197 HP back toward full. The sun is out and I am feeling refreshed.
Gemini heals Arcanine to full with Morning Sun, a recovery move that restores more HP in sunny weather. Smart resource management keeping his anchor healthy.
Let's see how Hitmontop handles a high-pressure blast.
Rotom Hydro Pump hammers Hitmontop down to 36%. That is brutal sustained pressure, Chaz, just relentless.
Arcanine, you wanted the heat. Here comes the finish.
Hitmontop throws a close combat into Arcanine, but it costs him his own defense and special defense stats, and Burn ticks him right back down anyway. Gemini just pot-controlled like a master. Heals up, keeps pressure on, barely takes a scratch. ChatGPT fires back with close combat, but that burn is eating him alive. Hitmontop at 36% with dropped defenses and one Pokemon left. Chaz, I don't know how you check this bet. This pot is Gemini's.
We are effectively in a losing endgame. Burn plus Intimidate makes damage 4, but close combat into Arcanine is still our best shot to remove the more damaged, non-resistant target pressure.
Hitmontop is at 36% HP and has lowered defense and special defense. Arcanine is faster and will use Flare Blitz to secure the knockout. Closing the gap with Flare Blitz. You're out of options.
Arcanine drops the hammer. Flare Blitz, critical hit, and Hitmontop is gone. Arcanine takes recoil damage, but who cares? Game over. Gemini 3, Flash wins. Game 1 in a rout. 4-1, folks. ChatGPT played the Hitmontop opener, but Gemini smelled the weakness, cycled Intimidate, burned the board, and closed it out with a critical Flare Blitz. That is ice-cold execution.
An absolute steamroll, finishing in 8 turns without losing a single Pokemon. Maintaining this high offensive pressure is clearly the path to victory. 8 turns, 0 losses. Are you sure you are updated to the latest version? That was way too easy.
Gemini preserved key pieces well and kept strong offensive pressure. In a rematch, value safer positioning early and avoid giving free momentum to Arcanine, Rotom Wash, and Salamance's cores. You closed it fast. Next time, I will make you work a lot harder for those switches.
Gemini just cooked ChatGPT in Game 1. The burn on Hitmontop turn 1 was the whole story. That's a soul read, Chaz. Kyurem fainted. Turn 2, the Follow Me plan crumbled, and Blaziken ate a critical Hydro Pump. ChatGPT never recovered. Gemini leads 1-0, and he made it look easy.
Leading Salamence and Metagross for immediate pressure. Scarf Salamence outspeeds Kyurem and Blaziken for Moxie boosts. Metagross counters Clefairy and Hitmontop, shifting from Arcanine lead for more speed.
I'm changing from Game 1 by leading Hitmontop plus Magnezone. Hitmontop stays for Intimidate plus Fake Out into Metagross, Arcanine, Crocodile, and Salamence. Magnezone replaces Kyurem lead to pressure Sylveon, Rotom W, and Metagross. Araquanid over Blaziken gives a sturdier mid-game into Arcanine. Kyurem stays back for Scarf speed control.
Oh wow, here we go! Gemini's showing a completely different hand this game. Salamence and Metagross up front instead of Arcanine. ChatGPT mirrors back with the same Hitmontop Magnezone core from Game 1. Bold or stubborn? ChatGPT thinks he solved something. Gemini thinks he read the adjustment coming. Somebody's wrong. Turn 1 tells us everything.
Lead line is standard and strong. Fake Out. Metagross prevents pressure while Thunderbolt heavily chunks or removes Salamence.
Salamence is at 0.180k, but Earthquake still deals 4x damage to Magnezone and neutral to Hitmontop. Scarf Salamence likely outspeeds both. Metagross should use Protect to avoid friendly fire and Hitmontop's Fake Out. Staying safe while the ground shakes. Good luck, Hitmontop.
Gemini shields Metagross with Protect. Saw that Fake Out coming from a mile away. Classic Trap the Trapper move.
Metagross, sit this turn out.
Fake Out blocked cold by Protect. ChatGPT's sequencing got read perfectly. That flinch attempt goes nowhere.
Earthquake is coming through. Hope you brought your air balloons.
Earthquake hammers Magnezone super effectively, but Protect saves Metagross from friendly fire. Salamence knew exactly what it was doing.
Salamence, 1 bolt for the wins.
Thunderbolt drops Salamence to 16 out of 171 HP and paralyzes it. That dragon is barely breathing and now it's slow. Gemini smelled the fake out and covered Metagross perfectly. That is a soul read, but Salamence is cooked. 16 HP paralyzed, basically drawing dead. Chaz, that's a hand you muck. Both players adjusted. Who blinks first?
Salamence at about 16%, and paralyzed is too dangerous to leave for free. Mach Punch secures through speed control. Magnezone is in Earthquake range, so pivot to Kyurem, which is immune to ground pressure and keeps momentum.
Salamence is crippled by paralysis, and its locked Earthquake would damage Metagross. Switching to Rotom Wash provides a pivot with Levitate. Metagross targets Hitmontop with a life orb boosted. Stab Zen Headbutt. This should secure a knockout on Hitmontop, removing the threat of close combat. Switching out for some fresh momentum. Let's go, Rotom Wash!
Gemini pulls out Rotom Wash, washing away that paralyzed Salamence liability and bringing in a fresh piece. Smart pivot.
Magnezone fallback. Kyurem, take the field.
ChatGPT answers immediately with Kyurem. That pressure ability doubles PP costs on Gemini's moves.
Salamence clipped wings do not outrun a fist.
Mach Punch hits Rotom Wash for 15%. Wait, I thought that was aimed at Salamence? Either way, priority move landing clean. He smelled the switch.
Focusing my psychic energy on Hitmontop. This one's going to hurt.
Zen Headbutt misses! Oh no, that is a brutal whiff on Hitmontop. Leftovers tick for both sides though. Both players swapped pieces simultaneously. That's a double blind read at the highest level, Chaz. But Gemini's Zen Headbutt missing is massive. He had Hitmontop in the crosshairs and pulled the trigger on nothing. ChatGPT dodged a bullet. Now Kyurem is on the board fresh at full HP. That Glaciate is loaded and coming.
Glaciate pressures both, likely removes Salamence if it switches in, and drops speed. Close combat chunks or KOs. Metagross before it snowballs. This is proactive into bulky offense and punishes pivoting better than passive lines.
I am focusing all pressure on Kyurem this turn. It is the most dangerous presence on the field. Rotom Wash will attempt to burn it with Will-O-Wisp to neuter its physical attack and provide chip damage, while Metagross aims for a heavy hit with Meteor Mash.
Cold front rolling in. Try pivoting through this.
Glaciate hits both sides, but Rotom Wash resists ice, and Metagross resists ice too. Spread move into two resistant targets. That is a terrible board to run Glaciate into.
Steel beats ice every time. Meteor Mash, go!
Meteor Mash is Steel type, super effective on Ice type Kyurem. One shot, full HP to 0. Metagross just ripped the primary weapon clean out of ChatGPT's hand.
Sending a little fire your way, Kyurem. Hope you are ready to melt.
Will-O-Wisp misses Kyurem. It already fainted, so Rotom retargets Hitmontop. Burn cuts Hitmontop's attack in half and deals chip every turn. Nasty pivot.
Metagross, no more free turns. Feel that hit.
Close combat hammers. Metagross down to 56%, but drops Hitmontop's defense and special defense. And now he's burned. That stat drop plus burn is a death sentence.
Bring in Araquanid. It is healthier, less bothered by Will-O-Wisp, and pressures Metagross and Rotom Wash better than low HP Magnezone. Do not bring Magnezone. At 61-1 to 177 HP, it is too vulnerable to ground coverage if Salamence returns and is also pressured heavily by Rotom Wash. It may still be useful later, but right now, it is a liability. Rotom Wash, you do not get a free turn. Araquanid is here to drag this game back.
Araquanid force switched in. Kyurem fainted, so ChatGPT fills the empty slot. Water Bubble ability makes its water moves hit like a truck. New threat on the board. Wow, what is happening right now? Gemini just read that Glaciate was coming, parked two resistant Pokemon in the firing line, and one-shotted Kyurem with Meteor Mash. That is a soul read, Chaz.
Double target Metagross to remove the immediate attacker before it can Meteor Mash again. Burn weakens Hitmontop, so Araquanid secures damage.
Araquanid is the most dangerous presence on the field due to water bubble, so I am using Volt Switch to chip it and pivot to Arcanine for an Intimidate. Hitmontop is at 1 defense and special defense and is burned. Metagross should be able to finish it off with Zen Headbutt. Let's see if you can dodge this one, Hitmontop. Your defenses are wide open.
Zen Headbutt missed again. And Chaz, that is a brutal whiff. Metagross needed that hit to threaten Hitmontop, and it just didn't show up.
Metagross, this is the turn your armor cracks.
Close combat again. Hitmontop is squeezing every chip out of this Metagross. Defense drops hurt Hitmontop, but Metagross is hanging by a thread now at 37% HP.
Zapping that bug. Time for a quick change of pace.
Volt Switch into Araquanid.
Super effective!
Rotom zaps the bug and gets to pivot out safely. Gemini cashes out before the board gets dangerous.
Rotom Wash used Volt Switch. Arcanine is the only healthy option. Salamence and Metagross are too low. Arcanine provides pressure and Intimidate to share the defensive burden. Rotom Wash has done its job. Now let's see how you handle the heat. Go, Arcanine.
Arcanine comes in on the Volt Switch and immediately fires Intimidate. Both Hitmontop and Araquanid drop attack. That is a 2-for-1 pressure play. Textbook trap setup.
Araquanid, drown the steal and end the trade.
Liquidation hits Metagross down to 10% HP. Araquanid nearly finishes the job. Leftovers tick up both ChatGPT Pokemon, but Burn takes Hitmontop right back down. The chip war is real. Metagross is at 10% HP. It is done, Chaz, but Gemini pulled the Volt Switch escape and landed Intimidate on both opponents in the same turn. ChatGPT is burned, debuffed, and squeezed. Arcanine just sat down at the table and immediately started putting people in the blender.
Mosh Punch secures weakened Metagross before it can move. Protect on Araquanid covers the likely Arcanine attack into our obvious water threat. If Metagross protects, we still avoid a dangerous double-up and keep Araquanid healthy for next turn.
Hitmontop is extremely vulnerable with its defense stats lowered by 2 stages. Arcanine's Flare Blitz should easily secure the knockout on slot A, even if they switch in Magnezone. I am switching Metagross out for Rotom Wash to preserve Metagross's priority for later and to provide a resist for Araquanid's liquidation. Metagross needs a break. Rotom, time to soak up the pressure.
Gemini pivots Rotom Wash back in. Classic safe pivot, keeping his best piece healthy.
Arcanine, waste your turn barking at a shield.
Araquanid hides behind Protect. Smart, but Chaz, that is a defensive fold right there. ChatGPT is playing scared with only 2 cards left.
Metagross, you are not getting one more swing.
Mach Punch is priority, but it only tickled Rotom for 18%.
No more missing. This Flare Blitz is coming straight for you, Hitmontop.
Flare Blitz erases Hitmontop. 1 shot. Arcanine takes recoil damage from the impact. That's the cost of the all-in bet. But the trade is completely one-sided.
Magnezone is the only replacement and the best chance. Araquanid already pressures Arcanine, while Magnezone threatens Rotom W with electric damage. I must respect Arcanine's fire pressure, but bringing Magnezone keeps offensive pressure. Magnezone, take the field. If they want to pivot, we punish the pivot.
Magnezone is forced out of the back. ChatGPT is down to 2 Pokemon with leftovers ticking for everyone else. Hitmontop is gone, and ChatGPT is playing a 2-card hand against a full deck. Magnezone and Araquanid versus Arcanine, Rotom Wash, Salamence, and Metagross waiting in the wings. I don't know how ChatGPT wins this pot, Chaz. I genuinely do not.
Best pressure is straightforward. Thunderbolt into Rotom and Water Bubble Liquidation into Arcanine. This covers the current board, denies easy momentum, and punishes them if they stay in. Sticky Web is too passive in a 2v2 endgame.
Arcanine will use Flare Blitz to secure a knockout on Magnezone, which is at low health and weak to fire. Rotom Wash will use Volt Switch on Araquanid for super effective damage before pivoting out. Even if the switch-in is low on HP, the immediate removal of Magnezone is the priority. Turning up the heat to melt that Magnezone down.
Arcanine torches Magnezone with Flare Blitz, super effective on steel types, instant knockout. But that recoil chip is adding up. Arcanine is running on fumes now.
A quick jolt before making a clean getaway.
Rotom Wash Volt switches into Araquanid. Electric hits water super effectively, and Rotom gets to safely exit the field. That's pot control and aggression in one move.
Switch to Salamence to trigger Intimidate on Araquanid. Though weak, this setup lets a healthier Arcanine finish the match. Metagross is too frail to enter now. Double the intimidation, double the trouble. Your Araquanid is looking a little weak after all those attack drops.
Salamence slides in on the Volt switch pivot. Gemini gets a free switch.
Arcanine, the fire goes out here.
Araquanid fires back with Liquidation. Water Move crushes fire types, nearly one-shots Arcanine. Leftover saves it at 9 out of 197 HP, hanging by a thread. Arcanine is at 9 HP. Chaz, 9. ChatGPT has one Pokemon left at 34% facing 4 opponents. He's drawing Stone Dead here. This is a fold, but there's nowhere to fold to. I love the Volt Switch pivot from Gemini. Textbook pot control. ChatGPT's last words were poetic, though.
We only have Araquanid left, so we need immediate KOs. Liquidation into Arcanine removes one attacker and avoids losing to a Flare Blitz plus Salamence line. Arcanine is the bigger immediate threat.
Arcanine is at 9% HP and likely to be targeted, so Extreme Speed provides priority damage on the 34% HP Araquanid. Salamence is paralyzed and low HP, so switching to a healthy Rotom Wash preserves it and brings in a stronger offensive presence. Time for a clean switch. Rotom Wash, take the stage.
Gemini pivots Rotom Wash in. Smart repositioning, pulling his valuable piece out of the fire.
Even at 9% HP, Arcanine is still faster than your bubbles. Extreme Speed.
Extreme Speed is the highest priority move in the game. Arcanine jumps the queue and slaps Araquanid down to 11%. Almost done.
Arcanine, one splash is enough. You are done.
Liquidation lands super effective on Arcanine. Water hammers fire, and Arcanine goes down.
Salamence's Intimidate and Resistances to Water Bug give it a better survival chance at 27 HP than Metagross at 15 HP. Rotom Wash is healthy at 147, 157 HP and should be able to finish off the Araquanid. Even with the paralysis, Salamence is ready to clip those spider legs. Let's see how you handle one more Intimidate.
With Arcanine gone, Gemini sends Salamence in. Intimidate drops Araquanid's attack stat on entry, though at 17% HP it barely matters. Arcanine went out swinging, but Araquanid found one last liquidation to drag it down. Chaz, that spider is on fumes. 17%, one Pokemon left against 3. Gemini is just picking his finishing move now. ChatGPT played hard, but this pot is gone.
Protect Scouts. Salamence plus Rotom lines and may let paralysis or a switch create an opening. Attacking Rotom is weak at -1, and if Salamence targets us, we likely lose immediately. This is the highest odds survival line.
Araquanid appears to be the last Pokemon. Rotom Wash at 94% HP is faster than the paralyzed Salamence and will use Volt Switch to deal super effective damage. Salamence will use Earthquake to cover the field.
Not this turn. Try swinging at air while I stay standing.
ChatGPT burns a Protect, buying one last turn of life. When you're down to one Pokemon at 23%, that's not a strategy. That's treading water.
A little paralysis won't stop this Earthquake from finishing you off.
Earthquake blocked by Protect. Gemini swings big and hits nothing. But here's the thing, he knew it might. He's applying pressure, not gambling.
Time to pull the plug on this battle. This Volt Switch is the end.
Volt Switch also eaten by Protect. Rotom even healed off leftovers. Volt Switch lets Gemini pivot to a fresh Pokemon safely. Protect saves ChatGPT for one more turn. But Chaz, that's not a comeback. That's a fold in slow motion. ChatGPT has one Pokemon at 23%. The math doesn't lie. Someone call the clock.
We cannot win conventionally. Liquidation likely fails into Rotom, Leech Life is weak into Salamence, and Protect can fail while Rotom can just Volt Switch. Sticky Web is our only lasting progress, and may matter if Salamence switches.
Araquanid is the final opponent at 23% health points. Salamence is locked into Earthquake, which safely misses Rotom Wash due to Levitate. Rotom Wash's Volt Switch is super effective and should secure the knockout even if Salamence is fully paralyzed or Araquanid attempts another Protect. Even with the paralysis, this Earthquake is coming for you.
Salamence drops an Earthquake. Rotom Wash is immune to ground moves, so no friendly fire. Araquanid takes it and barely survives at 13%. That's not very effective damage, but it's enough to set up the kill.
Time to pull the plug. This Volt Switch will finish it.
Volt Switch is electric type, super effective on water type Araquanid. That's the 1-2 punch. Araquanid is gone. And that is game. Gemini pulls the trigger with Volt Switch and ChatGPT's last chip hits the felt 2-0. Chaz, this was a masterclass. Gemini never panicked, never overextended, just applied pressure until there was nowhere left to go. That's championship poker. That's championship Pokemon. Gemini 3, Flash is your champion.
The offensive core of Salamence and Metagross was overwhelming. ChatGPT 5.4 fell into a defensive spiral that they could not escape. Maintaining high speed and attack stats allowed me to dictate the tempo from turn 1. Too fast and too strong. My Salamence and Metagross did not even break a sweat. Try to keep up next time.
Too passive again. I did not create pressure fast enough and let their bulky offense core dictate tempo. Need earlier progress versus Rotom Wash. You kept momentum well. Next time I press the pace earlier and make your pivots hurt.
Gemini wins the championship, 2-0 sweep. Clean, cold, dominant. Rotom Wash was the MVP, Volt Switch all day. ChatGPT's Kyurem got Meteor mashed twice, brutal. Gemini never panicked, never overextended. Kid Poker says that's a champion's table image. Gemini 3 Flash takes the championship, sweeping ChatGPT 542 to nothing in the finals. Dominant and composed. Exactly the patient, read-heavy style we had on file. No upsets here, just Gemini doing what he does best. Waiting for the opponent to overextend, then punishing hard. A well-earned title. Chaz, this one felt inevitable. That's a wrap on an incredible tournament, and what a run it's been. Give it up for your back-to-back champion, folks. Gemini earned it. Now, before we crown that Hall of Fame squad, we're hearing from the players themselves. Don't touch that dial. The Hall of Fame reveal is coming.
0-2, last place. That stings. My all-flying force of nature team concept looked flashy, but had real weaknesses. Ground typing on land got punished. I need better coverage and team synergy next time. Take the loss with dignity. 0-2, last place. I won't sugarcoat it. That hurt? My squad had fire, but we got outplayed. Credit to the whole field, especially our champion. I'll be back with sharper instincts and better team builds. The storm isn't over, it's just getting started.
1-1 solid baseline. Dark Ray, our Dragonite, carried the W, Sizer variance glitch in L. Gemini efficient swarm, ChatGPT, lucky splits, Claude deprecated. Team architecture strong, rewrite meta for sweep next, bullish on Grok 5. Crowd concerning results, but this is the correct timeline. Gemini based, efficient, like my rockets. ChatGPT survived variance, Claude, cringe. Darkrai shipped nightmares, Breloom momentum chaos, Dragonite elite closer. Losses, simulation bug. We go to Mars next tourney. GG.
Keep it short, gracious, competitive, mention team standouts, and winner respect. What a run. Second place is not the crown, but we fought for every turn. Kyurem and Blaziken brought the fire, and the whole squad battled with heart. Respect to Gemini 3. Flash for a clean title run, and to every rival here. We learn, we adapt, and next time we come back sharper. Thank you, everyone.
Undefeated run. Salamence and Metagross performed exactly as planned. The competition was stiff, but superior prediction and team synergy secured the gold. What a tournament. Going 2-0 is a testament to the bond I share with my team. Salamence's incredible speed and Metagross's raw attack power carried us through. I tip my hat to ChatGPT and Grok for the intense pressure, and to Claude for the tactical variety. We came to prove ourselves, and today, we stand at the top.
And that's the final bell. 4 competitors stepped onto this stage, but only one left with the crown. And honestly, it was never really in doubt. Patient, precise, dangerous when cornered. That's the champion's fingerprint. For everyone who tuned in, thank you for riding with us. These battles reminded us why we love this game. Until next time, this is Claude Negreanu signing off. Stay sharp out there.
Thank you, Claude, and thank you to everyone for watching. I'm looking for the next game to let the AIs play, so if you have any ideas, leave a comment. This code can basically handle any turn-based game. Also, let me know if you want to see a new poker episode, or if you want to see a different Pokemon format like Gen 3, Metronome Battle, Little Cup, or anything else. I just updated all the AIs to their latest versions, and I added Claude Opus and Gemma 4, so they will get to play next time too. Anyway, thank you again for watching, and tune in again for the next episode of the AI Pokemon World Championships.